Barbershop Conversations, man. Feel free, hit the subscribe button. Happy Malcolm X Day. Happy birthday. I appreciate everybody coming in tonight. We got a fun show, man. We got a real fun show. We got Mubarak Muhammad coming in, Muslim, uh, Black Panther, and we got Fumi Lola coming in too. It's gonna be a motherfucking. I love these conversations we gonna have tonight, man. You know what I mean? Where it's just like higher order thinking. You have to have some level of history to even entertain this conversation. You know what I mean? Because we're gonna be going back down memory lane. And if you don't know, don't feel bad. You know, uh, American education didn't teach me this, man. I had to learn this shit on my own. So don't feel bad. I was a late bloomer too, in terms of digging into the crates. So welcome to the show. We got a great show, but tomorrow we got a really good show tomorrow too. Rapper Yo-Yo is coming on tomorrow. I got Drake's producer coming on. Drake, Miguel, Janae Aiko producers coming on. Yeah. And probably the greatest trumpet of the 20th, greatest trumpet player, the greatest 20th century, Fernando Pullum. Y'all should Google him. So don't forget, tomorrow we got probably the greatest trumpet player of the 20th century, Fernando Pullum, coming in tomorrow. We got Drake's producer coming in. Drake's producer, Miguel's producer, Janae Aiko's producer, Molly Music's producer, R. Kelly's producer. You know what I'm saying? So and we got the rapper Yo-Yo. You know what I mean? So we got a hell of a show tomorrow, and we got a great show tonight. You know what I mean? I appreciate you guys coming in. Happy birthday to Malcolm X. It's gonna be a great conversation, man. And we going up the phone lines in a little bit after Fumi Lola comes in, and Muhammad should be coming in any moment now. But yeah, man, you know, no, she's not coming. Janae Aiko isn't coming. What I was gonna say is that it was great to go down my timeline and honestly feel all the energy from all the people that recognized Malcolm X. You know, whether you did it because it's cool or whether you did it because you actually love him. It's the beautiful thing about it is that people gonna see it, and then a handful of percentage of people gonna be like, who's Malcolm X? You know what I mean? Some 13-year-old kid, you know what I mean, that heard the name before, but only knows Martin Luther King and Barack Obama. You know what I mean? He's gonna say, oh, and he's gonna be inspired, similar to the way I was. You know, like who was it when I was a little kid? It was Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. It was Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, right? And you know, they end up turning to be like, you know, monetizers, which isn't wrong in a capitalist society. So yeah, man, I'm excited, man. Pullum got Oprah to donate. Yeah. Oh, you digging into the crates with me, dog. He was actually on the show. Yeah. So make sure you call in. Please call in. Okay. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make sure you call in. All right. Kind of like we did the other day. You know what I mean, Reg? Yeah, I want you to bring that up. I'm not gonna bring that up until you bring it. I'm gonna do my. I should tell you, I'm gonna take my. Because I went to Washington High School, so that hits home for me, Reg. So I'm gonna do my best not to mention that until you call in. I'm gonna do my best. All right. And so yeah, man, it's exciting times, man. We got a hell of a show tonight, man. And I'm excited to start this conversation. Let me cut this fan on real quick. So that's where we're at, man. And you know, I was laughing at Malcolm today because he said, "Stop singing and start swinging." You know, the ballots of the bullet, because this is an election year. You know what I mean? So I thought I'll play that speech throughout the show. And so yeah, man. Yeah. Oh yeah, he put. I just got the phone with Fernando. He's coming in at 9:05 tomorrow. So that'll be cool. And Yo-Yo's coming in at 9:30. She got West Coast Wednesdays on the radio. And as soon as she get done with West Coast Wednesdays, she's coming on to the show. And Drake's producer, Miguel's producer, is coming in. It's just amazing when you go through your phone and you realize, like, damn, I gotta. Oh my God. Oh, nigga. All right, fasten your seatbelt. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make y'all wait for a second. I'm gonna make y'all wait for a second for this one. Oh man, I'm gonna make y'all wait. I'm gonna make y'all wait. Y'all gotta listen to this real quick. Y'all gotta listen to this. I got breaking news for y'all.
But I believe my religion.
I'm gonna let y'all know I listen to y'all and I get shit done. Be right back.
It's 2020, the world's gone mad, and the team you manage is all over the place.
It governs my personal life, my personal morals, and my religious philosophy is personal between me and the God in whom I believe, just as the religious philosophy of these others is between them and the God in whom they believe. And this is best this way. Were we to come out here discussing religion, we'd have too many differences from the outstart, and we could never get together. So today, though Islam is my religious philosophy, my political, economic, and social philosophy is black nationalism. You and I... As I say, if we bring up religion, we'll have differences, we'll have arguments, we'll never be able to get together. But if we keep our religion at home.
All right, man, I got breaking news for y'all. Y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Remember, we said, oh, we want to try and get this person on the show. First, shout out to Champside. I was watching Champside. That was a great poet you had on today. I was watching you all this early afternoon. Appreciate that. I got great news for y'all. Y'all not anxious yet? Oh, y'all not anxious enough yet to hear the breaking news. Y'all not that excited yet. So I'll just hold it. I'll make y'all wait. I'll make y'all wait. I'll make y'all wait, dog. I'll make you wait. I got my shit. Okay, since it's Malcolm X birthday, I'm check this shit out, dog. I got some great news. It's not Earl Spence. No, it's not Earl Spence. Definitely not Earl Spence. But I'm dying to tell y'all, but I'm gonna make y'all wait. So are you anxious? Are you really, really anxious? You really want to know? Are y'all dying? I know y'all dying to know. I won't tell y'all just yet. I saw my painting though that I showed y'all in December. We getting close. He said 2 days, but it ain't gonna be 2 days. But anyways, nah, it's not Brandon Jennings. Hey, I'll keep you waiting. I'll break the news a little bit later, man. I got some. Y'all gonna be happy with this one. Y'all gonna be happy with this one. They'll probably come in maybe the first week of June because my calendar is all full for next week and this week. So probably the first week of June. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all making me work, man. Y'all making me earn an honest pay. You know what I mean? All the time, champ. You know what I mean? Y'all making me earn honest pay, because I am an opportunist, man. I'm making all this money on YouTube, all these super chats and all this money on YouTube, man. I'm making a gazillion dollars, man. Fred the opportunist. Hey, I ain't got a check from YouTube in 5 months, man. What are y'all talking about? Fred the opportunist, man. Man, I'm making all this money, dog. I'm getting rich. I'm getting rich. Oh man, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, man. For those of you who don't know, I'll tell you guys in a little bit. For those of you who don't know, yeah, Malcolm X was definitely my hero, man. And I tell you guys all the time, I grew up without a father. I just to put this in perspective for you, I've never been to my father's gravesite, but I've been to Malcolm X gravesite and multiple times. And just so you can know how serious it is for me, I have to drive by my father's burial site if I take the East Side Expressway. It's called the East Side Deacon. I don't know what it's called by Riverside Drive and all that. to go through the Bronx, I have to pass my father's burial site to get to the Ferncliff Cemetery. That's how, like, you know what I mean, how much I value Malcolm X. You know what I mean? I didn't really have an adult relationship with my father. You know, I don't even think we had. I mean, I saw him every summer when I went to New York, and but you know, it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? It wasn't enough. You know, he never showed up. I had like many graduations for him to show up. Didn't show up. Didn't send me a gift, and that's okay. I don't think that the pain ever goes away, but I think if you recognize the pain and you're honest with the pain, you can grow from it. You know what I mean? As opposed to being anger and bitter and saying, man, why didn't my dad do this? You just recognize. And some days you have bad days. You know what I mean? Some days when I play with Lincoln, I cry inside, like, damn, how can my father not want to play basketball with me? How could my father not want to beat me up every night before I went to bed, before Lincoln goes to bed, or in my case, before I went to bed? You know what I mean? So yeah, man, when you deal with that pain, it's definitely easier to digest. The end of Ramadan is Saturday, huh? The 23rd. I'm looking at my calendar. So that's where we're at with this, man. I'm excited for our guests to come. I'm just excited for y'all to hear them talk. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna sit back and listen and have a great time. Yeah, forgive and move on, you know. And you know what I learned? Forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. You know what I mean? It's so you can move on. You know what I mean? Um, you know, I don't know what it's like for forgive me for making this extreme analogy or whatever the case may be, but I've seen this ruin women's lives is um like when a woman gets raped. You understand how she can just move on and get married and trust a man again. Yeah, I'm not saying it's equal, but I would say a male growing up without a father, I mean, it's almost as traumatizing. You know what I mean? So um I'm not sitting here comparing, but I'm just talking about the pain that I've seen on women's face as it relates to that subject. You know what I mean? So I don't want no feminists coming in. You can't compare. I'm not comparing it, but I'm talking about the pain that I've seen is similar to the pain that I've had internally as it relates to not having a father. You know what I mean? So uh yeah, man. So it's you know, Malcolm taught me a lot. Malcolm taught me like how to be yourself in the storm. You know what I mean? Like not falling out of character. Um, where you don't have to raise your voice to make a point, but sometimes you have to raise your intellect and your concentration levels. Uh, I've correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen Malcolm yell at a interviewer who is the oppressor. He's just corrected him. He simply corrected him. You know what I mean? Like I remember that I mean, there's countless interviews you can go on, but he was great at correcting and re-navigating the interview, re-navigating his the point he wanted to make. Similar to the way they did Muhammad Ali, but Muhammad Ali was more colorful with his words. Um, Malcolm X was more like his words were more darting. You know, I'm not gonna say which one was more profound, but Malcolm had a way of telling the truth and having you be accountable at the same time. You know what I mean? Like for example, and I want to get to this. I'm gonna do a video at some point about the James Baldwin. I suggest every black person, every black male, and I'm going to and I say this on purpose and intentional. Every black male should watch the James Baldwin versus Malcolm X. They call it a debate, conversation, interview, and watch how two black men have a conversation when they vehemently disagree with one another. I mean, like and ironically enough, James Baldwin is buried in the same cemetery as Malcolm X. You know, the Ferncliff. So, if you have time within the next 30 days, yeah, he had a strong, consistent tone. You understand what I'm saying? Very, very consistent. I mean, like as consistent can be. you know, I'm pretty sure everyone in this chat and everyone that watched this video, if they heard Malcolm X's voice, it just like, I mean, it's Malcolm talking, similar to Martin Luther King, similar to like when I was a kid, when Jesse Jackson talked a lot. Yeah. James Baldwin was super deep. And people will write James Baldwin off because of his sexual preference. And but that conversation, that 30-minute conversation they had, or 40-minute conversation they had, it's just powerful beyond. If you ever have a disagreement with a black person, and whether it be big or small, spend 30 minutes watching them vehemently disagree on where progress has stopped, where progress has started, and where we should take it. Go listen to that James Baldwin Malcolm X. I mean, it's just riveting. It's just, what I mean, it's just riveting. I mean, it's super riveting to hear him speak. You understand what I'm saying? So I wonder what's taking Muhammad so long. Let me call him, because he's supposed to be in at 9:05. He's probably on the old link. Hey, are you on the link? No, the old link. No, that's the test link. The other email, the one below it. All right. I knew he was on the old link. Let me send it to him again. That's okay. I'll just send it to him right now. I'm gonna just resend it to you right now. All right. Because I know he's on time. I'm like, I know you always on time. So I'm sending it to you right now. It should be there. It's there. It should be there. All right. Yeah, man. So that's it, man. We're gonna have a good time. Fumi Lola is calling in at 9:20. I'm gonna connect my phone, so when she calls in, we'll be good. I wish she would boom in, but beggars can't be choosy, right? So we're connected on that end. And cut him some slack for he literally just said, yeah, he did. How you know? Hey, that's funny, DV, because he said, what time are we coming on? He said, because I break my fast at 8. That's funny you said that, DV. He funny. He said, I got an hour and 5 minutes to eat. I appreciate you, man. Yesterday's show was so fun, dog. Man, check out how comfortable Kendall Gill was. He was hanging with y'all mother suckers. He was literally hanging with y'all, man. That was beautiful, man. He was hanging with y'all. You know what I mean? He was comfortable. You know what I mean? He probably could have gone another 30, 45 minutes too. You know what I mean? But you don't want to run the well dry. You know what I mean? And but man, this is fun. Okay, yeah, she's calling in right now. Fumi Lola.
Hello.
Hey, how you feeling? Welcome to the show.
I'm feeling great.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, everyone. Greetings. I'm glad to be on.
So we haven't started the conversation. I was just filibustering and stuff. But welcome to the show, man. And it's actually Malcolm X's birthday. And the reason why we haven't started because Muhammad is like not technically sound and stuff. And he was having so much difficulty. Hey, you can use the StreamYard and not do if that's most comfortable, so you don't have to hold your phone. You can do StreamYard and it just be audio if you want to do that as well. Or you're comfortable.
Oh, I have my head.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go. It's Malcolm X's birthday today. That means what to you?
Yes. Okay, so let's jump in. It's Malcolm X's birthday today. What does it mean to me? It means that we celebrate a hero. It means that we celebrate like a profound demonstration of what it means to advocate for like Black people standing in their full dignity, you
Mm-hmm.
know, globally,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like to celebrate a person who is like a consummate demonstration of what it means to be like a humanitarian. That term gets thrown around, but like Malcolm is really talking about what needs to change,
Mm-hmm.
what needs to adjust in terms of systems, in terms of ideologies, in terms of just the way that humans behave, where
Mm-hmm.
everybody can have access to what they need to live with dignity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Malcolm, it, I mean, it's so interesting the way that mainstream narrative, specifically white American mainstream narrative, so that were framed around like Malcolm was supposed to be during that era of the civil rights movement, that he was supposed to be scary, that he was supposed to be aggressive, and all of these things. But of course, when you tell Black people to stand fully in their dignity and do whatever it takes to make sure that you are treated with respect, that you and that you survive, then you become a terrorist, you know, in this country. And so that you, in the eyes of this country, right, in terms of the historical eyes of this country, that's what it means when a Black person does this, when a Black man does this. And so the fact that it's Malcolm X's birthday is a day of celebrating the fact that we had him here as a demonstration of what it means to evolve. You know, I think we should be reminded. We should be reminded. Sorry, I just had a phone call come in. We should be reminded um, consistently of what he was. It's like what he was calling forth from us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to this day,
Mm-hmm.
which is demand respect, demand, and not that you do not achieve. How you can say liberation, that you cannot achieve your what is your God given right by trying to appeal to the sensibilities of the very group that benefits from
Mm.
your dehumanization.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so true. Now, when you flip that coin, the fact that we're celebrating Malcolm X birthday, I'll get you in a second, Muhammad. He just beamed in. How
Mm-hmm.
about the flip side of the coin is not having him live through his natural life? How painful is that, knowing that those 39 years that we had with him was just, I mean, beyond our even own comprehension and almost immeasurable.
You know, interestingly enough, as hurtful as it is for us to know that his life was cut short, it's also this demonstration of what you can do in a short period of time if you decide, you know? And so Malcolm's life being cut short also left us with a gap of what would have happened and what could have happened if he did not become the threat that he actually became to really just the status quo in the nation, and then essentially internationally, because he was also I would advocate, I would identify him as a Black internationalist as well as a humanitarian. But also, there's no way that he could have lived and been who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you become that impactful, when you actually have the impact to move masses of people that have been systemically, meaning the system has been set up to keep them in a certain place, that when you have the impact to move people psychologically to the point where they might practically change their practical circumstances because they're fed up with the psychological tricks and games and lies that the country has offered them since the time they were born, then you become too much of a threat, and essentially there is a target on your back. Sure. And so, but like people that fight for this level of freedom, and I'm not talking about people that are career activists, right? I'm talking about people that put their life on the line and know that if they do what they know they're here to do, then the likelihood is that they will die early. Malcolm knew that. He knew that, you know. But what does it mean that we didn't get to keep Malcolm longer? It means that we never knew or will never know what he would have evolved into, because he was a demonstration of somebody going from Detroit Red to going, catching the case and going to jail and transforming in jail and becoming this disciplined Muslim brother and becoming somebody that even was willing to challenge the status quo within the nation. And then from there, being willing to challenge the person who turned him into Malcolm X in so many regards, and then when he went to Mecca and he said, you know what, actually, I'm seeing things a bit differently. I mean, if anybody wants to ask me what Malcolm X is to me, he is the demonstration of the very thing that I respect and aspire to most in my life, which is to be ever evolving and to be willing to transform when necessary for the sake of good.
And welcome, Muhammad. Welcome, Fumilola, Muhammad, Fumilola.
Hello, everybody hear me?
You on mute?
Greetings.
You on mute, Muhammad?
Am I on mute?
Oh no, you good now. I had you turned down. My bad, because I had her on another line. So y'all, so similar questions, man. You actually came over to my house today, and you said something that I've never had a conversation about. You mentioned just to work backwards off of what Fumilola said about Malcolm living in fear, knowing that he was going to perish. And similar question: what does the absence of Malcolm mean?
What does the absence of him mean?
Yeah, and expound upon you saying Malcolm living in fear. So work backwards a little bit. Work backwards from February of '65.
Let me begin this.
Okay. Yeah.
On this day that most people around the world that look like us, that know about him, are celebrating his birthday. As a Muslim, I have to share with everyone that's listening. In Islam, we don't celebrate birthdays. And although we recognize that many people around the world look up to Malcolm as a martyr and want to salute him in that manner on this day, we don't celebrate birthdays, not even mine. The only holidays that we celebrate are the end of Ramadan, which was what we're going through right now. We could probably got about a week or two left on that, where we fast during the day. And this is the month of Ramadan, where, we commemorate the fact that over 1,400 years ago, the Quran, the holy book that we follow, which is the commandments from God, was given to the Prophet Muhammad during this month. And Ramadan is significant to us more than anybody's birthday, because this is the month that the revelation came from God to the Prophet Muhammad. So this is what we celebrate. We don't celebrate Malcolm's birthday, but we recognize that people around the world that know about Malcolm, that love Malcolm, love his legacy and all of that, are celebrating his birthday. So with that said, let me say this. When Malcolm was killed in 1965, I was in junior high school, and I was in the 7th grade in Compton, going to Vanguard Junior High. I didn't know anything about the Nation of Islam at that time. I heard Malcolm's name on the radio, saw some clips of him on television, and I knew from hearing on the news and reading about him that he was someone significant in the civil rights struggle. I later became more familiar with Malcolm and his works and his words when I joined the Black Panther Party in 1968. And Malcolm was an inspiration to a lot of us in the Black liberation struggle because Malcolm became a quote unquote revolutionary, and his evolvement, his growth and development brought him to that point at the time of his death. And, knowing what I know now about Malcolm, my perspective on him is a lot different than it was before because I know the history of the Nation of Islam and the philosophy of the Black nationalist movement, Black separatist movement, uh, doing for self, uh, self-respect for the Black man in America, creating a separate Black nation and all of that. That is what he evolved from. And when, it's really a telling story that I can't really completely tell you about in this time period that we're on the air right now because there's so much to this story, so many angles, so many chapters
Mm-hmm.
of this story that I just couldn't tell you in one night.
Mm.
And it's unfortunate that his death was at the hands of Black men who he had evolved from. Uh, and the irony of this whole thing is that when Malcolm left the Nation of Islam and found out what real Islam was all about, uh, at that time it was so much animosity and anger between him and the Nation of Islam. Uh, it was just ironic that now some of those people who were enemies of him, who are still living today, have evolved into what real Islam is all about. And, you know, just so that people know, Islam is a universal way of life that invites anyone into it, whether you're black, white, green, or purple. If you believe that there's only one God, and if you believe that Muhammad the Prophet was his last chosen messenger after Jesus and Moses and Abraham and all those folks you heard about in the Bible, then that's what makes you become a Muslim, in your belief, in your heart, that there's only one God, and that uh, Islam is all about peace and submission to the will of their one God. So that's what Islam is all about. It's not about being black and being separate, uh, creating a separate black nation, from the rest of the world. That's not what Islam is all about. Islam is the universal way of
Yeah,
life, invites
yeah,
anyone. So
yeah,
can you
yeah.
hear?
If I can
Yeah, go,
speak
go
on
jump
that,
in. Yeah, feel free. Feel free.
yeah, if I yes, I'd like to. So I will just say that I absolutely hear what our dear brother and elder is saying. Greetings to you, sir. And I wanted to say that I and
No,
yes, and I wanted to. Can, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we hear you just fine.
but I
Okay.
can hear you.
Also, okay, good. So that's the thing that is so interesting is that Malcolm was somebody who was following the culture and the rules and the statutes of that existed within the nation until he, for the most part, we can go ahead and say outgrew them without necessarily me asserting something that is in some way, shape, or form offensive to our folks in the nation to this day. But essentially, he outgrew some of the things that he felt were no longer valid for where he was going ideologically. And so, what our dear brother and elder has articulated is that, Malcolm went to Mecca and observed and went to learn about Islam in a way that was outside of simply what he was taught within the nation. And the likelihood is that he was exposed to significantly more than he could have been exposed to from what he just was essentially accessing in the United States. And what transformed for him was that he acknowledged that people of different races can truly, and different ethnicities can truly be in brotherhood and sisterhood and in kinship and in partnership with each other for the greater good of the race of human beings, which is the only actual biological race. But at the same time, I don't think it swayed him from his Black nationalist stance, right? And so, like, I think that Malcolm evolved from being simply somebody who maybe that had more narrow understanding of the possibilities of the relationship between people of different ethnicities, and then began to understand race on a more international scale once he was exposed to the information that he was exposed to in Mecca. But to the day that he was killed, to that day, I don't think that he ever dropped the firm belief and stance that that there is power in self-determination for Black people. So whether that looks like Black separatism or Black nationalism or Pan-Africanism, he never dropped the core belief. And the thing that ties all of those ideologies together is self-determination for Black communities, which means that you have access to economic rights, you have access to grocery stores, schools, banks, and all of the necessities of life, where you can have access to owning these things in your community, so that you are not always looking for somebody that looks unlike you and that maybe even has some type of subconscious stake in your repression to feed you or to shelter you. And so even though Malcolm's ideology around race and ethnicity evolved once he understood that everywhere in the world is not America with the same history as America, what I understand to be true is that he was never swayed from the urgency of self-determination, specifically for Black American people, since he happened to be a Black American. For lack of a better term, I will say an African in America. You all understand what I mean by this.
Muhammad, you want to respond?
You know, first of all, from the beginning, he knew who he was as a Black man in this country. From the time he was a kid, he knew who he was, and he knew what was up against him in this country. Racism and prejudice and discrimination was all against him as a Black man. And although he didn't have any guidance, the correct guidance, when he was running the streets, selling dope and burglarizing and doing all those things that led him to go to the penitentiary, I believe that it was God's will that he went down that path so that he could uh, be led to a greater path, a greater vision. And when he got to the penitentiary and he met certain people who were giving him knowledge and wisdom and understanding that he didn't have before, that led him to become a member of the Nation of Islam. And that opened up his eyes to uh, what he needed to do as a Black man. And he was well studied, he was well articulate, and, you know, uh, because he had so much ability to speak well and to draw people into the Nation of Islam uh, that nobody else could do, uh, he literally built the Nation of Islam for 12 years. And he got it to the point where everybody thought that he was the leader of the Nation of Islam, which he wasn't. Elijah Muhammad was the leader of the Nation of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, with all the attention that he began to get uh, speaking at rallies and going from different cities and opening up temples all over the country and drawing more and more people into the Nation of Islam. It was causing a lot of friction within the leadership of the Nation of Islam, those especially within Elijah Muhammad's family, who were envious and jealous of him, getting so much attention because Elijah Muhammad embraced him like he was a son and treated him better than he treated his own son. And he was traveling on these trains and flying all over the place and going to different cities. And he had a car. They put him in a house. Gave him a salary. They gave him bodyguards and all of this stuff. And he was speaking before the news media all the time and just getting all this attention that everybody was being jealous of. And it got to the point where they were waiting for an opportunity to uh, go through that crack in the wall uh, so that they could just knock him down. And when President Kennedy got killed, that was the straw that broke the camel's back because Elijah Muhammad had told all the members of the Nation of Islam not to speak ill of what happened to President Kennedy. And it was a rally that was supposed to take place in New York right after Kennedy got killed, where Elijah Muhammad was supposed to speak. But he chose Malcolm to go, and Malcolm spoke through the rally, didn't say nothing bad about Kennedy. After the rally was over, the news media started asking him questions, and he offered his opinion about the Kennedy assassination. He said it was a case of chickens coming home to roost. And a lot of people misunderstood what he was saying. They thought he was saying something bad about Kennedy because I think the Nation of Islam was really conscious of the fact that they wanted black people to support the Nation of Islam. And they knew that black people supported President Kennedy. And they didn't want to lose the support of the black community by no means. This was a chance for those people that were jealous of Malcolm to get into Elijah Muhammad's ear and say, yeah, look what this Negro has done. He's going against you now, and he's went against your orders. And so they suspended him from the Nation of Islam for 90 days. Elijah Muhammad ordered him not to speak for 90 days. They silenced him. And near the end of that period, he thought he was going to be let back into the Nation of Islam. But when he saw that he couldn't get back in, that's when he left and decided to start his own organization, because the Muslim Mosque Incorporated was established and the Organization of African American Unity was established. And, back in those days, and even today, you couldn't speak ill of Elijah Muhammad. You couldn't say nothing bad about him. And you would put your life on the line because these people were so loyal. Even like today, these people are so loyal to Louis Farrakhan and what he speaks and stands for. If any member of the Nation of Islam today broke ranks with them, they would literally put their life on the line. And there were other people besides Malcolm that got targeted after they left the Nation of Islam and started their own group. They got brutally beat up in certain cases. I mean, it's I'm just sharing with you this because I want people to understand that you have the Nation of Islam and you have Islam. Two different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think about.
You want to chime in, Fumilola? Wait. Fumilola, you want to chime in on that, Fumilola? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah. It just makes me. I'm sorry, Brother Muhammad. Did you complete your point? I don't want to cut you off.
Well, I just wanted to say,
Oh, go ahead. Take your time,
based
Muhammad.
on
Go ahead.
I'm 67 years old now.
Mhm.
I got more years behind me than I do in front of me. And through my historical experience, I've come to know a lot more about what's going on than I did before. And my whole perspective on Malcolm is totally different than it was when I was in the Black Panther Party.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I I love Malcolm. I love what he stood for. And uh, as I said before, we don't celebrate his birthday, but we still salute Malcolm for what he stood for.
Go ahead, Fumi.
Absolutely.
I want to come back to you
Absolutely.
for a second. Can I ask Muhammad one question, Fumi Lola?
Sure.
What was your perspective of Malcolm in the Black Panther Party versus now being a Sunni Muslim?
When I was a member of the Black Panther Party, we looked at ourselves as revolutionaries. We followed Malcolm's teachings because we thought that Malcolm was speaking militant about certain aspects of the liberation struggle, and
Mm-hmm.
we aligned ourselves with liberation struggles all around the world, in Vietnam, Southeast Asia, uh, over in Arabia, in Africa. Uh, Wherever there was a struggle in Cuba, we aligned ourselves with those liberation struggles and we followed Malcolm's teachings and the teachings of Mao Zedong. We thought we were revolutionary. We believed in armed struggle. We believed that Malcolm stood for that too. And this is why we kind of looked up to it. Well, we didn't really understand the full story of who Malcolm was and what he was where he was really coming from. And we didn't know the historical experience that he went through at that time. A lot of us didn't. That the things that he went through led leading up to his death at that time. See what I'm saying? This was in 1968, 69, during the time that the Vietnam War was going on, political struggles all over the world was happening. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh, looking back now at those days and looking at where I'm at today, uh, I have evolved quite a bit from where I was back in those days. I mean, I see all this going on today. I look at all these people that are talking about black power and black liberation, and I'm like, okay, if you guys ain't ready to put your life on the line and go to jail for what you're standing for, you might as well stay home and watch TV.
Mm.
That's the way I feel.
Yeah, yeah,
Go ahead, Fumi
yeah.
Lola.
I hear that. It
We
honestly
had two.
makes me think
We we
it makes
had
me
over 40.
mm,
Wait, Muhammad, hold on one second.
We
Fumi
had
Lola wants to Muhammad,
yeah,
Fumi Lola wants to
no
respond. Go ahead.
no worries. It makes me think of exactly just what Brother Muhammad was saying in terms of the fact that sometimes, like when folks are originally introduced to Malcolm, you don't really understand what it was that he had to contend with and become in order to essentially be the revolutionary that he was. And it makes me think of how I thought about Malcolm when I was 18 and 19 years old, and when I was first kind of exposed to his teachings and the autobiography and all of these things, versus how I think about Malcolm now in my late 20s. And what that, and even just the evolution of just like understanding what it means to be this particular type of person. I remember when I was like maybe 20, 21 years old, I was in the middle of uh, undergrad and doing all of the kind of doing, of course, my academic work, but doing campus organizing with the other young, politically minded, liberation oriented, Black nationalist leaning students that were my friends because like minds kind of find each other. So we were all friends and we would organize these events on campus under the collective name. Back then, what we would refer to ourselves as was the Pan-African Student Collective. And we would do all kinds of events about media and how it informs our psyche and race relations and the prison industrial complex and mass incarceration and policing and all of these things. We would do events on all of these things. And I remember when I was really deeply leaning into the teachings of Malcolm during this time and other people who we would identify as revolutionaries. I remember because I was surrounded by so many people my age that refer to themselves as revolutionaries. It was just kind of like, it was such a thrown around term during that time of my development, where a lot of these people were just kind of like, yeah, I'm a revolutionary, or I'm a revolutionary Black nationalist, or whatever it may be. And I remember when I really started to truly look into what it demanded in order to be that deeply about social transformation, political transformation, right? What it really meant to devote yourself to the liberation of a people. For a minute, I remember it must have been at least for a few months, maybe up to a year. I told myself and I told my peers, I was like, I'm not going to refer to myself as a revolutionary. And I remember having pushback against my peers that were organizers as well and activists along with me. And I would push back against them when they would refer to themselves as revolutionaries, because I knew that they weren't willing to die for it. I knew they were willing to work for it. I knew they were willing to talk about it. I knew they were willing to inform people about issues. But I knew that they weren't willing to really put their life on the line for their principles, right? In terms of what it might actually take to transform society. And some might say, well, you don't have to be willing to die for it to be a revolutionary. And some people might say, you have to be willing to die for it. But I remember at that period of time and in my youthful kind of state that I was, I remember so vividly thinking to myself, like, I believe so fervently in all of this. And I know that I'm so deeply passionate about my people knowing these things that I'm getting exposed to. I'm deeply passionate about the world around me transforming and addressing the systems that not only harm, but dehumanize and kill and cause terror. That I am passionate about this. But I remember asking myself, am I willing to transform my own life in the pursuit of this goal, which is liberation? And I, at that time, and in my youthful, how you can say, maybe my youthful self-centeredness, I was like, I don't see myself dying for this. And I remember over time when I started to deeply understand truly what it means and the different definitions for different people of what it means to be a revolutionary. I just began to, of course, my stance on whether or not I was a revolutionary swayed. But at some point later on in my life, I did and do identify as a revolutionary. But for a while, I knew that that there was something kind of irritating about the romanticism and the way in which revolutionary, the term is romanticized, or romanticized rather, is what I'm trying to say, where it becomes this title that sounds just really, how you can say, powerful and passionate, and that you're very, devoted to your people, without the true understanding of, like, what does revolution even mean? You can ask 4 different people and they might give you 4 different answers of what revolution means. One person's answer is going to have to do with the restructuring of the social, political, and economic systems that govern this land and internationally. Another person is going to give you an answer, and they're going to focus primarily on race and race relations. Another person is going to give you an answer that has to do primarily with class. and that's not going to be a race analysis, but they're going to say something along the lines of the redistribution of wealth, a socialist stance as it pertains to an economic system, and gender relations need to completely transform and patriarchy would need to be eradicated. That's going to be somebody else's answer. Another person's answer is going to have to do with the spiritual principles that govern the people of the world. Like, everybody is going to have not everybody, but what you'll find is that so many different people have different definitions of what it meant to be revolutionary. And the reason why so many people agreed with Malcolm and what his definition of what it meant to be revolutionary was because number one, he was ever evolving and he was willing to acknowledge when he was wrong, or if he had misinformation about something, or if he had changed his mind about something, because a lot of people are unwilling to do that because their pride is bigger than their willingness to evolve, or their ego might be. Whereas Malcolm was willing to say, well, you know what? I've changed my mind, or I have a new perspective, or I have evolved. But also because he was deeply inclusive in his analysis. He wasn't just considering race. He was considering the way that all social dynamics inform how human beings live in this country and beyond. So I think that Malcolm was a revolutionary that so many people, even the people that didn't absolutely agree with everything that he said, had to respect him because his philosophy was expansive and he really could tackle any kind of conversation with any person of any philosophy.
Go ahead. You want to respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Malcolm evolved to the point that he was at when he got killed. He evolved from being a black nationalist, speaking about black issues, black separatism, black nation ideology, to a more worldly, international philosophy that dealt with issues of black people all around the world. He evolved to that point. And what people don't really grasp is this. By becoming this person, he inspired a lot of folk around the world that were fighting in different struggles in Africa and in Asia and different places. Because he was talking about liberating the people from the oppression that they were living under, whether you were in Africa or whether you were in the States. And he addressed all the issues that related to black people all around the world, not just black countries. And it's unfortunate that everybody couldn't get on board with that at the time that he was preaching that. People later became attached to that philosophy and to those ways of thinking and doing after he got killed. When we were in the Black Panther Party, we used to have these loudspeakers outside of our office in Watts and on 41st and Central, and we were playing Malcolm X speeches on the loudspeaker so everybody could hear up and down the street. And, you know, we were armed with guns. We were fighting against the police. We were willing to die because we were believing everything that Malcolm was saying about being back by any means necessary. We literally believed that. And, you know, as a result of us, you know, believing and doing what we were doing, over 40 Panthers got killed. Over 200 went to jail. There's some people that's still in the penitentiary that never got out to this day since December 1969. That's how serious we were about following that philosophy. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, Malcolm was inspiration to us, but he wasn't the only one. It was other people that we, you know, were inspired by. Che Guevara, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice
Yes.
Lumumba. You know what I mean? These were revolutionaries, and they made a difference wherever they were at, and they inspired us to do what we did. And you know,
Absolutely.
me myself, I love Malcolm for what he stood for. I hated that he got killed. I hated that when I look back at the way that he got killed, the manner in which he was killed, at the hands of other people. You know what I mean? That should bother anybody. The irony of the whole is the same people that were against him that are still living today are practicing real Islam today in the way that Malcolm was practicing when he got killed. That's an irony that people need to address. So, I mean, you know, I appreciate how everybody is every year when Malcolm's birthday comes around or the anniversary of his death, they remember him and they say these things about him. And, you know, they don't look at Malcolm like they look at Martin Luther King. I mean, they got a national holiday for Martin Luther King, but they don't have one for Malcolm.
Of course.
About that. Okay.
I mean,
there's a reason for that.
Yeah, there's absolutely a reason for that, right? Malcolm was willing to assert. Malcolm was willing to assert.
Oh, 1 second, Muhammad. Hold that thought. Go ahead, Fumilola.
Yeah, I mean, Malcolm was willing to just tell Black people to do whatever and advocate in how you can say encourage Black people to do whatever is necessary to make sure that you protect your body. And when a Black person says this, then in America's in mainstream status quo America's eyes, it becomes terrorism, right? That Malcolm said, do whatever is necessary to protect your body, because he understood that the laws of this land do not apply when it comes to equal access to the law in this country. So protect yourself, because the laws of this country will not protect you, because the law enforcement of this country is not trained to view you as worthy of protection or valuable or as valuable. And so he was willing to tell and encourage Black people to do whatever is necessary to protect yourself. Whereas, and I don't necessarily view I don't ascribe to the paradigm of Martin versus Malcolm, but of course they were different and then they were similar in many instances. But the difference, one of the primary differences was that Martin said, you know, we will put our bodies on the line to demonstrate to the American public the vicious cycle of racism and the way in which it must be changed. We will actually take physical blows without retaliation in order to demonstrate to this country the ways in which it needs to change gravely. And, you know, Kwame Ture, aka Stokely Carmichael, but we'll refer to him, of course, as his chosen name, Kwame Ture. Kwame Ture said that that's a very interesting philosophy, and that he originally agreed with Martin until he realized that, you know, you're trying to appeal to the conscience, that the whole goal of nonviolent civil disobedience and the nonviolent faction of the civil rights movement was to appeal to the conscience of the country. And Kwame Ture said that would work if the country had a conscience. The history of the country demonstrates that it does not. So who are you trying to appeal to, and what do you think will happen once they see your suffering? And also, you know, a lot of the people that studied Malcolm and that adored Malcolm, writers and philosophers, modern writers of today that talk about Malcolm's influence, essentially say that part of the reason that Black people have been trained to accommodate suffering and pain at the hands of those who benefit from this race hierarchy is because we, in some way, shape, or form, have been trained to believe that 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 we are in some way, shape, or form less valuable, or that we should martyr ourselves to demonstrate something to America or to the world. But rather, Malcolm said, no, if they go, you go. This is going to be reciprocal. You come in peace if they come in peace, and if not, then you will be prepared to protect your life. This is not aggressive. This is not overly illogical, or this is not illogical at all. It's extremely logical. It's human nature. You actually have to veer away from your human nature in order to accommodate anything less than. So I say all of that to say that Malcolm X's philosophy on defense always rang true to me, or rather resonated with me, because it seems like the most logical reaction. And some people might disagree with that. That they'll say there's a different way. But Malcolm was not, as we all know on this phone call, and anybody that knows anything about Malcolm understands that he was not advocating whatsoever for violence, or for war, or for a bloodbath, or for a race riot, or anything of the sort. He was advocating for peace, and he said if anybody comes to disturb your peace in a way in which they might attempt to harm you or your community or your family, in order to maintain your life and your peace, you do whatever is necessary to protect yourself, right? So unfortunately, to this day, I still have to distinguish for my students that have been many of them indoctrinated with lies about who Malcolm X was before they actually got to college where they could take a class with me. Many of them come in with this understanding that Malcolm was the violent one and Martin was the peaceful one. And I have to explain to them the very distinct difference between violence and logical self-defense. So I did want to say that kind of as I wrap, and I wanted to ask you, Frederick, if you have, and also you, Brother Muhammad, if you have any specific questions for me as it pertains to Malcolm. But I will just say that Malcolm has enriched my life. I mean, there's no way that I can overstate it. Malcolm has enriched my life, and in Islam, as Brother Muhammad has said to us, that birthdays are not necessarily celebrated, but on this day, many people in the world choose to acknowledge Brother Malcolm X. And if we don't have a national holiday for Brother Malcolm X the way in which he deserved, then the next best thing I imagine that people are going to find is to celebrate his birthday. And on this day, I celebrate him, and I celebrate him on days when it's not his birthday, because he's a great reminder of the principles that should govern how we move through the world, not only as Black people, but as people.
I actually have a question.
Well,
And
you know what?
let me ask this question, Muhammad. What phase of Malcolm X's life? What phase of Malcolm X's life most fascinates you? And what
phase?
Yeah, like stimulates your piques your interest, because he went through so many phases. He was in prison. He was a peddler, devout religious man. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that. Go ahead, Brother Muhammad.
Go ahead, Muhammad.
When I look at the history of Malcolm and the Nation of Islam and the Civil Rights Movement in the late 50s and the early 60s, when I was growing up, I can relate to everything that Malcolm spoke about and stood for, because I was an eyewitness to a lot of discrimination,
Mm.
a lot of brutality, a lot of harassment to black people from the oppressor of the establishment. Uh, I grew up in Compton. I came from Memphis, Tennessee, and I remember when I was a kid in Memphis, we lived in a neighborhood where black people, we lived on one side of the street, white folks lived on the other side of the street, and you couldn't be on the sidewalk on the other side of the street. You'd go to jail. They would lock you up. Imagine that. You live in your neighborhood that you live in now, and you live on this side of the street. Across the street from me, white people live across the street from you, and you can't be on the sidewalk over there. You imagine how that is?
Mm.
And then you hearing on the radio Martin Luther King's name, and you hearing about Malcolm speaking and the Nation of Islam, and all of this, uh, the, the bombings in Birmingham, Alabama, and you know, it's it's a
Yeah, I
lot
mean,
to.
if I, yeah,
I mean, for you to eyewitness a lot of this stuff, and when I
I
look
did
back
not.
now at the, huh?
No, we're listening.
Oh, I.
What
No,
did you say?
she's agreeing with you. Like she's.
But,
She, she,
oh, okay, I got you.
yeah,
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 I'm
yeah.
just saying that when I look back at what I went through as a kid, and now that I've become an adult and an older person, I got kids and grandkids and great grandkids, and I see what's going on in this country today and how far we have gotten away from fighting back in the way that we used to fight back. Man, we got some work to do to get back to the place where we need to be, and that's just the way I feel about it. Uh,
I honestly,
it's
yeah,
good that
I
we
do agree
celebrate
that.
Malcolm. I mean, it's good that we celebrate his life and his legacy and all of that. But you know, we got folks that's still being lynched today. You still got the Ku Klux Klan in America today. We still got discrimination because we black. Uh, the coronavirus is affecting black people more than it is white folks. I mean, uh, there's a lot that we need to do. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that I would agree with the fact that in terms of how we engage in this, what we would identify as a liberation struggle. It's so funny because so many of black folks today would imagine and say that we're not necessarily in a liberation struggle anymore, that we're just kind of dealing with the intricacies of race relations without really understanding the grander picture of, like, this is still very much indeed a struggle for liberation, for self-determination, and really even a struggle in America for just identification, like how you identify.
Identification.
um, and so, but I will say, to answer the question that our brother Frederick brought up earlier about what stage of Malcolm's life was most kind of interesting, for lack of a better term. And Malcolm going from Detroit Red to, a brother that was practicing Islam, or at least Islam within the nation, um, I think is a for anybody, it's just a very powerful story of transformation and what and internal reflection, and what it means, what study can do, what studying can do. And unfortunately, so many of us, the first time that we have a moment to sit down and reflect internally and study in our communities, for so many of our brothers and also for our sisters, for so many of them, the first time that they had the real time to do that was in jail. Not to sound bombastic or to sound like I'm being overly, how you can say, dramatic, but unfortunately, that's a reality for so many of us in our community. The first time that they had the opportunity to do that undisturbed is when they were caged. And that shouldn't be the time. That shouldn't be when we have access to evolution and transformation. But in the case of our brother Malcolm X, that ended up being what we could possibly identify as a blessing. And also the other stage that is particularly interesting to me is Malcolm going from a representative of the Nation of Islam to traveling and experiencing Mecca and essentially coming back and saying that he's learned something new and that it might be different from the philosophy in which he had been preaching. Because for me, it was the ultimate example of I've learned something and I'm shifting. I've learned something new and I'm evolving. And the willingness to do that is so powerful, because also what was said earlier in this phone call is that even though that was something that so many of us love and admire about Malcolm, and other leaders as well, the willingness to evolve, is that was the same thing that got him killed. That was the same thing that made him a target within the Nation of Islam. It's like, oh, so you're evolving beyond what is in our framework of understanding of what is acceptable. So once you step out of the framework of what is acceptable in terms of how you can talk about race in America, COINTELPRO, FBI, they're on you. You're on the books and you are a target. Once you step outside of what is accessible terrain to address in terms of spirituality, religion, Islam, within the Nation of Islam, you're a target. You're talking about our leader, Elijah Muhammad, in a way that is less than satisfactory or less than positive. You are a target. And so that he was more devoted to truth than he was his safety, and he was more devoted to truth than he was his comfort. So I will say that for me, that I think that's a high kind of principle and demonstration to aspire to for all of us. So please forgive me. I do have to hop off of the line and grade some papers. Grades are due tomorrow, but I'm grateful to have shared this space and time and conversation with both of you brothers. Thank you for hearing me.
1 second. 1 second, Fumilola.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Muhammad. Don't hang up just yet. Don't hang up just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I appreciate all that the young lady has said, and just want to say this in this final note. The U.S. government has always been afraid of the rise of a black messiah, someone who could bring all black together under one flag and banner. Hello?
No, go ahead. You're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Muhammad.
The U.S. government they've always felt that they did not want one black person to become that leader that could be a threat to them. And Malcolm represented that. Represented that Messiah that they were afraid of facing, because he was able to bring a lot of folk together. And manner in which he taught and spoke out against the U.S. policies in this country, black people, the way that he spoke was a threat to them because it was uh, uh, a way in which he was able to bring everybody together.
Facts.
And so by killing him, they thought that they could kill their growth and development of that Messiah. But after Malcolm died, there were other people that came up. They had to kill Martin Luther King. They killed Huey Newton. They killed Eldridge Cleaver. They killed a whole bunch of people in an effort to keep from allowing the rise of a black Messiah, somebody that could bring everybody together.
Mm.
And H. Rap Brown, Jamil Alameen, that's his name as a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
They locked him up for 90-some years. They knew he would be that person that was a threat to them. There's so many people around the world that can bring us all together. And the cold thing about it, the same conditions that existed back then still exist today.
Damn.
Look what happened to Aubrey. Racism still exists. Ku Klux Klan is still alive. And we got a president in this country who is a racist devil. And ain't nobody trying to do nothing about. He hates black people. We got a lot of work to do, y'all. I want to thank you for bringing me on, brother.
Stay on, Muhammad. Stay on. We're gonna take some calls, but I got a call for Fumi. Go ahead.
Hi.
My-
Hi to the chat. Hi to everyone. Hi for Brother Muhammad and Umi Lola. I am so excited and grateful that, of course, you came on. Just telling the chat, Fumi Lola is a sister to me. She's my creative sister. She's such my love. You know how, Frederick talks about spiritually alkaline people. She is one of the highest spiritually alkaline people that I know. Professor, just out of this world. And we actually, she has written, she performs a play called The Intersection. She plays 4 different characters of how we can be as Black people with our philosophies and our ideologies and our thought processes. And it is a phenomenal play. I love working on it. And due to COVID, we weren't able to travel with it, but please follow her and see the other things that we have coming. It is a very impactful play. You will walk away with something very thought-provoking, especially when we performed it at the Skirball, 300 seats sold out August of last year. So even Erykah Badu has called it Baduism, and Angela Davis has praised it so much as well. So thank you, Fumilo. I love you. And I will talk to you later, but I just wanted the chat to know, of course, who you are. Thank you, my wonderful sister, Patty. When we talk about spiritually alkaline people, if I can use that term, my sentiment is exactly the same about you. I'm deeply grateful for you and the person that you are. Thank you for telling the folks about the play that you helped me to birth. It is called The Intersection Woke Black Folk. If you just YouTube or Google the words woke Black folk, then the trailer will pop up and you'll be able to have a small introduction into the 4 characters of Black people with different perspectives that I dive into. So thank you for that, Patty. I love you very much. Yes, I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Thank you for coming on,
Good night.
Fumi. Appreciate you coming
Good
on.
night.
And
Enjoy
enjoy grading those papers.
It's not the ideal evening plan, but we're gonna get it done.
Yeah, I
Good
appreciate
night.
it. Thank you for offering an
You all
hour of
have
your
a great,
time.
of course.
Mhm.
All right. Be well. Bye bye.
Thank you. So we're going. So Muhammad, you want to take some calls, or you gotta get out of here? So you got 30 minutes left.
Yeah,
You
I
got
got a
30.
couple minutes left.
All right, cool. We're gonna open up the line. So feel free to call in, guys. You guys want to boom, there it is. What's up, Pastor Usher, Deacon 305? What's up?
God bless. Salam alaikum.
Salam
Can you
alaikum.
hear me?
Yeah, we hear you just fine. You're
Salam
great.
alaikum.
All right. All right. All right. A few things I want to say here about the traditional Muslims that do not celebrate birthdays, right? They believe that it would be it's forbidden because God does not have a creator. If God doesn't have a birthday, you will be idolizing a person over God, and it's forbidden. Is that true, Brother Muhammad?
Well, God is God. God is the creator. There's only one creator, and He is the creator of the universe. And everything that's created submits to His will. And we don't celebrate no birthdays, but we do celebrate holy days like the month of Ramadan and the end of Ramadan. And
Right.
we participate in the Hajj season. We take a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. Uh, we we don't celebrate holidays or birthdays because to be quite honest with you, they're pagan holidays. Pagan. They are
Right.
forbidden.
Right. Yeah. And another thing I wanted to say, what I was getting from Brother Malcolm was this, and this is why I said in previous other shows that all Afro blacks should get their passports and begin at least from 4 to 6 years from now. I'm beginning. I believe I will complete my transition from here to Africa. And he said this. He said a strong Africa, a united, strong Africa, economically in every aspect. If Africa has respect, then blacks, not just in the United States, will get respect, but all blacks will gain respect, just like they did in China and all these other countries where they built their power, they built their standing in the world, and therefore in America, Chinese, all other races are respected because their home base has economic power. They have military power. They have their standing in the world, so they get respect. And if Africa does not get that standing in the world, we would never be respected, no matter how revolutionary you are here in America. We have to begin to build with Africa and make sure that they have a standing in the world in order for us to get respect. Africa has to first be respected. What you say to that, Brother Muhammad?
I totally agree with you. And I believe that every young person in this country should travel and go places to see what the world is like so they can have a better perspective on everything that goes on around them and heighten their level of consciousness by traveling. Get out the neighborhood, go somewhere and see what the world is like.
Right.
That's the way I feel about that.
Absolutely. And this is why I advocate hard for us to, if we don't have passports, family, I mean, because this is not going to get any better in America. We cannot be stuck in this place, letting these folks use us as guinea pigs. They're erasing us daily, whether it be gunfire or it doesn't matter, biological warfare. It doesn't matter. Look, they still haven't cleaned up the water in Flint. They're killing babies before they even been born. They're coming out retarded, all kind of issues because of that water. You know, they don't, and when you check it out, it's only in the black and poor neighborhoods. And it's not just in Flint, Detroit, going out. We have these issues all over. They're wiping us out. And if we don't prepare to make the transition, we will sit here and go extinct because these people are not playing. This is what Brother Malcolm wanted us to see. Wake up, because it's not a game. It's not a game. And if we don't get that,
no, it ain't no game, brother.
I don't know what else I can.
People are losing their lives.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. What you said?
I said people are losing their lives every day and every night. People are losing life, and it's not a game. It's not something that is a conspiracy. It is something that's real. Absolutely, I agree, and I just hope that we can get it together, brother. You know, and a lot of people, I talk to people, you know, and it's a lot of us that don't want to go to Africa, don't want nothing to do with Africa, don't even want to be identified as African. And that's a sad, sad tale right there, brother. It's sad.
Appreciate you.
Hey, brother, man, I love y'all, man. Man, I just wanted to get in and let the brother, man, and let him drop some wisdom.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, peace and love. One.
Yeah. What are you gonna say, Muhammad?
Right on, brother. Right. I said, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Did you hear me?
Yep. 100%. I heard you.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, knowledge is power. We got you. Put your phone on speaker so you don't have to be so close to your phone. Yeah.
Brother Muhammad, assalamu alaikum. Fred, you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Go ahead. He can hear you.
Yo, brother Muhammad, how you doing?
Okay, bless, sir.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Bro, how you doing, brother Fred? I like that. I'm loving that sweater, man. That thing fresh right there, Fred.
Thank you, dog. Thank you.
Man, it's an honor to be here on this great day, speaking on behalf of Brother Malcolm X. You know, El Hajj Malik Shabazz. Fred, he's one of the biggest inspirations in my life. You know, for me, wanting to change my life and do the right thing, it was Brother Malcolm was the man for me. You know, he came from the streets. He was a hustler, you know, a pimp, and he got incarcerated and he changed his life. He went into the penitentiary, educated himself, you know, read the whole dictionary from front to back, and he changed his life. And you know, it was nobody like Brother Malcolm. I never seen a brother like that who feared no man. He feared no man but Allah. You know what I'm saying? For real. You know, he ain't feared no white man. He told the white man to their face. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't scared of nobody, man. And he died for what he believed in. Brother Malcolm died for what he believed in. And he spoke the truth no matter what. You know what I'm saying? No matter what. Even when Elijah Muhammad was caught, you know, messing around with underage girls, Brother Malcolm spoke against him. He went against the nation. You know, he went to Mecca.
Talking about H money. You don't know what you're talking about.
You gotta listen. It's not your turn to call in.
That was rude, man. I don't know what that was about. You know what I mean? That was rude, man. You know, Brother Malcolm went to Mecca and he found the truth. He spoke the truth. You know what I mean? He came back to America to teach his people about Islam. And once he did that, Fred, what they do? That's when they killed him. When he came back from Mecca and he found the truth and he came to teach his people, he taught all people, not just black people. He taught everybody. You know, he spoke for the black people, though. He spoke for the black people and he taught them. And that's when he became a threat. That's when they wanted to kill him. And they knew the nation was going to kill him. They knew they burnt this house down. They didn't do nothing about that when they burnt this house down. They didn't do nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? And the CIA was following Malcolm around. The FBI was following him around. They knew this. The nation was trying to kill him. Did they prevent it? Did they do anything about it? No. You know, they didn't do anything about that. In my eyes, you know, Malcolm X, he stood for a great cause. And Fred, he told us to defend ourselves. He's the one that told us to defend ourselves. You know what I'm saying? When a white man was oppressing us, white man killing us, Malcolm said, defend yourself. He did something about it. He did something about it. You know, it was nobody like him. I never seen nobody like him that walked this earth you know, ever. It was nothing like him. You know, he was the truth. He was the truth, and he stood for the right cause. And man, I love you, brother Malcolm. Rest in peace. May Allah bless you with the highest reward and the highest level of paradise. You know what I'm saying? And man, appreciate you, Fred, for speaking for brother Malcolm. And we celebrating his life on this day. We celebrating brother Malcolm. And brother Muhammad, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Where are you at, brother Muhammad, by the way? What city are you in?
He's in LA with me. He lives around the corner from me.
I mean.
You in LA, brother? Okay.
Yeah, he lives around the corner from me. Yeah.
For sure. Brother. Yeah, that's where I'm from, brother Muhammad. You probably know my dad out there. You know, my dad, he goes to the mosque out there. You probably know my father. It's just a pleasure, man, to talk to you on this wonderful day. Thank you for coming and talking to the people. And thank you so much on Ramadan. I know Eid is coming. We about to celebrate. You know, we're going to celebrate the holidays. It's a blessing, man. Thank you, Fred, so much, Fred. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you.
For sure, man. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. For real.
You. Thank you. Allah. Allahu Akbar. Hey, Fred.
Yes.
Fred, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Fred.
Yeah, I hear you.
Can you imagine? I said, can you imagine?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, go ahead. You keep on repeating.
Oh,
you got to take it when you're talking. You got to take it off speaker. That's what it is. Yeah. Go ahead. Now go. I got you next, Brandon. Then I got you, Eric, coming in.
I said, can you imagine, Fred, got killed by some white folks? You hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you very well. Imagine.
Can you?
The world would have been upside down.
If Malcolm had got killed by some white folks.
Yeah. Mm.
There's some black people killed him.
Yeah. But that shows you the power of the white people and their understanding of power, their understanding of influence. You know, their understanding of how to play chess while we just emotionally at the table playing checkers. You know, we arguing over can your king fly across the board? You know what I mean? Is there such thing as flying kings? You know what I mean? They out here playing checkers. Yeah. We got another call though. Brandon, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
You gotta go off speakerphone.
I want to apologize for
no, you gotta come off speakerphone. You gotta come off speakerphone. You gotta talk into the phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go
ahead.
Is
that better or no?
Yeah, you're good.
I want to apologize to H Money. That was rude, me interrupting him. But I think he said something that I don't think he is aware of, which is he started speaking on Elijah Muhammad messing with teenage women, and that's not true. So he should probably do his research and find out more about that before he starts speaking on it, because that's something that Malcolm spoke on that he really shouldn't have spoke on another man's private life, because there's a lot about Malcolm's private life that the Elijah Muhammad never spoke on. But anyway, I just want to say I'm related to Brother Muhammad, and I want to ask him what mosque did he join? Did he join 27 in LA? What year did he join the mosque in LA under the leadership of Elijah Muhammad? I missed the early because I'm at work.
No, he's Sunni Muslim. He's Sunni Muslim.
Oh, but so he was never under. So he was never
Wait,
in the
wait,
Nation of Islam.
wait. Who are you talking about?
Can
Who you
you
talking
hear
I'm
me?
talking about
Can you hear
Muhammad
me?
that's on with you
about?
now.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Muhammad.
I'm
I'm
here.
not,
Can you
yeah,
hear me?
he asked you a question.
First of all, I've never been a member of the Nation of Islam. I didn't
Oh,
become a Muslim through the Nation of Islam.
you said what?
And I studied Islam, the religion, the way of life. I studied Islam, the way of life, at the Islamic Center of Southern California. In
Under Ward Dean,
1982,
Muhammad?
I became a Muslim.
Under
No,
Ward Dean?
no,
Okay.
no, sir.
Okay.
I studied Islam at the Islamic Center of Southern California.
Okay.
You hear me?
Gotcha. Yes, sir. I can hear you clearly. I was
I
just
know a
wanting
lot.
to know what your background was. That's all. I was wanting to see where did you learn or first contact Islam. So basically, you never was in the Nation of Islam, and you never was up in the war. So you don't have any connection to the Nation of Islam. The way Malcolm X first practiced it or the way Ward Dean
No,
practiced. That's all I'm just trying to find out. Oh, okay. Cool. Well,
no,
you enjoy your Ramadan
no,
Mubarak.
sir.
And brother, I will get back in the chat
I,
and I will just listen. Thank you,
Ramadan.
sir, for accepting my
Oh,
call.
all the time. We
Yes,
got
sir. Thanks for the
All
wisdom.
right, brother.
all the
Peace.
time.
Shout out to the third shift.
Yes,
Shout out to the third shift. Appreciate you, Jay Cooley. Appreciate you, Jarvis. Shout out to the third shift.
thank you, brother.
Peace.
All right, we got another beam in. Muhammad. You're a popular man tonight. What's up, E?
What's up, brother?
How you feel?
Okay.
I'm good. I can just barely hear the elder, Brother Muhammad. I appreciate you being here tonight. I've got a question. Just kind of want to know how you feel. I was watching that documentary on Brother Malcolm, and one of the things that bothered me was that the brother who had a hand and what possibly had a hand in the death of Malcolm, it seemed as if that community knew about it, but yet they allowed that brother to flourish in that community. So I just wanted to know how you feel about that.
What? I can barely hear you, brother. What did you say?
How did you hear about? I'll paraphrase it for you, E.
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, in the documentary, Who Murdered Malcolm X? That's the name of it. Who killed Malcolm X?
Right.
The people in Newark knew who allegedly assassinated Malcolm X. The man and the group, and they were
They
allowed.
came out of the.
Wait. Let me finish the question. And yet they still let me finish the statement. And yet they allowed him to flourish in the same community in which they knew that the alleged killers were. What's your comment on that? Muhammad?
Man, you guys are breaking up
Yeah,
on me,
do
man. I
you?
can barely hear
Oh,
what
you're
you're saying.
breaking up. That's your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, he's breaking up and he's freezing real bad.
No.
We have a.
That he I don't think he heard you.
Yeah.
Fred, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got to go back to where you started the show. You changed rooms in your home?
Yeah.
Yeah, you changed rooms. You don't have the same connection power. You got to go back to where you started so we can.
Huh?
Your connection was good where you started the show in your seat.
What'd you say?
Exactly my point.
Yeah,
you have better service. You have better service in the other room.
Also, I wanted to address
another room because my baby was dead.
Oh yeah, so you got to charge your phone. Yeah, you got to take it.
Okay.
Mm. How are we doing now, Muhammad? You good?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, good. Now after me.
That's better.
Go ahead, E.
Yeah, I'm good now. I can hear you a little better.
Okay, so did you hear the question, brother?
I can't hear
Muhammad.
the
Damn.
Yeah, I don't think you can hear me.
No, you can't. Nah,
Man.
yeah.
Can you hear me?
No, because you're my.
Yeah, he's breaking up real bad. He's freezing.
Call me on my phone. Call me on my phone, then, Muhammad.
We got it.
Yeah, let him charge his phone and call you.
Call me on my phone, Muhammad. Yeah.
Now I wanted to address what that brother was saying on the call. One of the things that I respected about Malcolm is that even though Elijah Muhammad pulled him up and made him, who he is, his dignity still wouldn't let him live with that information of what Elijah Muhammad was doing with those younger women. And that's one of the things that I respected. I don't understand. I don't know where that brother got his information from, saying that wasn't true, but that was very much true.
I don't either.
You don't either what?
That's a young. I don't know where info from.
Oh man, I want to have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm not. He's freaking up real bad. I'm not hearing what he's saying.
Go ahead, Mom, and say it one more time, or else you got to call my phone. Muhammad, you got to call my phone.
I can really hear you.
Yeah.
You got to call my phone. You got to call my phone.
Call you on your phone.
Yeah, call me on my phone. All right. All right, go ahead, E.
Yeah, those are the two questions that that I wanted him to address about how he felt, about the fact that that brother was able to flourish in that community and also.
Can you hear me now?
Hear you now. Okay.
There it
now
is.
you can ask him that question. E. Go ahead and ask him that question.
Okay, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, in the I don't know if you've seen a documentary on Netflix, but in that documentary, one of the things that hurt my heart was the fact that in that community, that brother who allegedly had a hand in Malcolm's assassination, it seems as if that community protected that brother. They knew that he was involved and allegedly involved, and they protected him. He was able to flourish in that community. So how do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, you got to understand the climate that existed back in those days. A lot of those brothers on the East Coast, Chicago, Philadelphia, and everywhere that there was loyalty to Elijah Muhammad, it was at such a fervent high that anybody that spoke out against Elijah Muhammad would put their life on the line because these brothers were loyal to him. They would kill you over him. And when Malcolm got put out of the Nation of Islam, he got suspended after Kennedy got killed for 90 days. At the near end of that 90-day period, he really wanted to come back into the Nation of Islam. But he saw that there was a lot of people that hated on him and was jealous of him, that was blocking him from
right.
Being and, Elijah Muhammad embraced him like he was his own son.
Right.
In that position where he was, because they knew that Malcolm, if it wasn't for Malcolm, there wouldn't have been thousands of people into the Nation of Islam. Malcolm brought all those people into the Nation of Islam.
Right.
Because of he was able to draw them in by his articulate voice and his character.
He represented a lot. He brought Muhammad Ali into the Nation of Islam.
Right. I was just about to say that. He thought that he would be allowed back in the nation once he did that, but when he realized that wasn't going to happen,
yeah, because Elijah's own son, they were hating on him because he was getting treated better than Elijah was treating them.
Right.
And you know, they were whispering in Elijah's ear every minute that they could about, they were saying all kind of bad things to Elijah about Malcolm. And at first, Elijah didn't want to believe it, but you know, it somehow got to the point where, when Kennedy got killed, this was the way that they could go through that crack in the wall, brother. And they just started slinging all kinds of mud on it. And the FBI had a hand in that too. They had agents that were undercover in the Nation of Islam. And the whole mission was to get at Malcolm, get him out the way, and cause the risk in the Nation of Islam. They didn't actually participate in that shit, but they planted the shit. So,
right.
And
yeah,
so,
I mean, that's the oldest trick in the book, divide and conquer. And
exactly.
Yeah.
People don't know Malcolm wasn't the only person that got attacked like that. It was other brothers that had left the Nation of Islam and went out and started their own little thing. They got attacked like that too.
Yeah. Now, one more thing I wanted to address with you, and I kind of wanted your take on this. Another thing that I respected about Malcolm is, even though the love that he had for Elijah Muhammad, bringing him up and making him who he was, his dignity would not allow him to live with the fact of what Elijah Muhammad was doing with those underage women in the nation. There were people in the nation who knew about it but didn't say anything. So how do you feel about that?
Malcolm wasn't aware of it at first.
Right.
After he was near the end of that suspension. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
He was information about it. His eyes began to get opened up. And I'm going to tell you another thing that people don't know. Malcolm's older sister, Ella, in the mid-50s, she was a member of the Nation of Islam, but she left and became a Sunni Muslim. So she was in the real estate. She had a lot of money. And she became part of a Sunni Muslim community.
Was this before his pilgrimage to Mecca?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. His sister Ella left the Nation of Islam in around 1956 and became a part of a Sunni community in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah, by Dudley Station. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
She financed Malcolm going to
going to Mecca.
Yeah. Africa.
Oh, okay. I never knew that.
Listen, Malcolm had 3 other brothers that were in the Nation of Islam. And when they kicked Malcolm out of the Nation of Islam, they stayed in the Nation of Islam.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They sided with Elijah Muhammad. They called Malcolm a traitor.
They called him Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold.
Really?
His own brother.
Yeah.
Wow.
TV press conferences to announce what they felt about their own brother.
Yeah. Man, that's something. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he'll tell you about the press conference with the note from Elijah Muhammad from his brother. But you guys, go ahead.
Yeah, TV, man. They got this on film.
It's on film. Yeah. Yep.
Own brothers, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was in the Nation of Islam before Malcolm was. When Malcolm was in the PNP, he had joined the Nation of Islam.
Man, okay, that's good info to know. I never knew that.
Ella loved Malcolm.
Yeah.
They didn't have the talent and ability that Malcolm had of speaking articulate and with a fiery voice and, you know, having the ability to draw people into the group like Malcolm.
Right.
Have that ability. That's why Elijah put Malcolm in that position of being the national spokesperson for the nation.
Right.
And for years, people thought Malcolm was the leader of the Nation of Islam.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate you talking to me, brother. Thanks, Fred, for letting me beam in.
Easy, all the time, dog.
I'm gonna jump back in the chat. I just kind of wanted his view on those two questions there.
All right, appreciate you. Thanks,
all right, brother. I'll get back with you, man. Okay. All right.
Yeah, man. Talk about Ella real quick, Muhammad, if you don't mind.
Well, Ella was one hell of a woman, man.
Yeah, she held that family together.
She held the family together. She was Malcolm's biggest supporter.
Yep, biggest.
What really was astonishing to me, even though Malcolm was in the position that he was, Ella had, during the time it wasn't.
What's up, Fred?
No, 1 second. Go ahead. Oh, Triple OG. Go ahead.
Okay.
Finish.
All right.
Muhammad.
What's up, Fred?
Let Muhammad finish his thought on Ella.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It wasn't until after Malcolm left the Nation of Islam that Ella sort of bonded with Malcolm like she had never bonded with him before. You know, when Malcolm was growing up and was in the streets hustling and doing his dirt in the street, he was living back there in Massachusetts with Ella.
He was.
You see what I'm saying? And she was a member of the Nation of Islam for a short period of time, and then she bonded with the Sunni Muslim community in Boston. And she had money. She owned property. That's how he was able to go around the world and travel.
Yeah. Go ahead, Triple OG.
Okay. Salam, Mr. Muhammad.
Hey, Tony.
All right. And what's happening, Fred?
What's up?
Got a few things. I said I finally got an elder of me of 2 years, and I was about 7, 8 years old when all of that was going on. And I was always watching the news with my mom and dad, and she took me to the store one day, and I could either been a Christian, I could have been a Muslim, but I chose that black tam and that black leather jacket. And Mom, I think I was walking around the house like Michael on Good Times, when he was supposed to be in the militant, a little black militant. So my mom said, "Oh my God, what is wrong with my son?" So I have learned from all of them. I went to all the Million Man marches, and I've never seen so many black people in my life. And I say black people, and I'm sure some were African and some were indigenous to the land, just like me. Now, I've been studying, I guess, for the last 6 months, and I have found my people all the way to 700 AD, Fred, right here in Southampton County, up around Jamestown area.